So Chad is going to be one of my first victims on the new Dima Show podcast. I'm super excited about that. You guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, then you've seen some interviews before. And Chad, you are Mr. Crypto. I'm so excited to chat with you today. Let's just dive right in since you're a crypto celebrity. How'd you get into this wild and wacky space?
Oh my goodness. Crypto celebrity. That's what it's come to, man.
That's right. Don't let our mutual friend JK know about that.
There you go. Absolutely. Man, it goes back quite a way. So I'm in the tech business, right, and have been for over a decade. So I actually got introduced. So my brother, big in the developer, he's built some online companies. And early on, man, this is going back 2013. At the time, I was working at a big data storage company, and he was in my ear. He read the white paper for Bitcoin and just got fired up. And he was in kind of the payments space through some of the companies he'd built online and seen some of the challenges and read the white paper, and just a light went off in his head. He's like, oh my God, this is what we need. This is a game changer. This is going to change so much. His brain just started going. So, he was in my ear. I bought a little bit in 13. Just quite honestly, it was just so he would just stop talking about it so much. I hadn't seen the guy that's fired up about anything.
What was the price? What was the price back then? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, I think early on it was I think around $340, something in there, right? And I thought I was late. I'm an idiot. I'm so late. I saw this thing. I know people that bought this thing at pennies. What am I doing? So stayed with it, learned a little bit, kept buying some more, and it really wasn't until 15, 16 where really started getting deep and some use cases started coming out. And then obviously the 17 run, and it was like, okay, there's something serious here. I'm really going to start digging in, and just literally since that day, it's been a nonstop. We call it going down the crypto or the Bitcoin rabbit hole. There's so much to learn. Everything moves so exponentially quick that it's a daily life lesson. And the cool thing is you learn about economics, you learn about macro investing, you learn about game theory. I mean, it includes everything, and there's so much to learn. And since then, daily, I consume its podcast, it's, BitLift Discord that we're on daily, talking with hundreds of folks about crypto. And it's been awesome, man. I'm spending a lot of time there and really enjoying it.
We should, while you're talking about it, give your brother a plug here for it's a new podcast, so I'm probably gonna have about 2 listeners, but we still should plug.
There you go.
On the YouTube channel, we have a few more. We should plug your brother's stuff. So if you want to mention how they can check that out and see everything that's going on over there.
For sure, yeah. So the company's BitLift, BITLAFT. And great podcast that my brother's running, the BitLift podcast, and it's just, we don't just stack crypto, we use it. So it's all of the different ways and education on crypto, how to use it, what it's doing, how it's changing the world. Really just a fun thing. And then there's also the BitLift Discord. So it's a group, hundreds of folks on there, different channels talking crypto all day long, all night long, 24/7. Same way the markets move. And it's been fun. We've helped everyone from just junior entry level, what is crypto, to folks that are spending their days yield farming, doing some crazy in crypto.
It's such an interesting space, I think. And, obviously such a small percentage of people, even though you would think like everyone is doing it, there's a very small percentage of the population that's involved. And I know my story, and I've told it on the show before, which is like, I remember, so our mutual friend, I won't name his name here because he thinks my opinions are too right wing for him. I can't call him out on the channel, but our mutual friend, I remember he came to me and he was like, "Hey, I'm buying this stuff," and I'm like, "This is like, what is this? It's a scam."
What are you doing? Right.
And then even worse is, I remember specifically, I was on this plane ride, and we were going on a guy's trip to Colorado, and one of the guys there who was really into crypto was like, "Listen," at the time I remember it was like $6,000, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, just trust me, like, just buy one just to watch it. Like, you're not going to lose your life savings. And I started researching, and I'm like, no, again, crap, right? It wasn't until the pandemic hit, the health emergency. And, and I saw, okay, like the US is printing all this money and inflation is going to happen at some point, which now we're seeing that that I was like, okay, I need to find a good hedge against inflation other than real estate. And that's when I really, started diving in. Now you mentioned, Chad, here's a question for you. You mentioned the rabbit hole. I feel like it's so easy to like totally consume your whole life. What do you do about this?
Yeah, I mean it is. Like I said, so much is changing, and you want to keep you're financially vested, and you want to keep your finger on the pulse, right? So it is tough. I mean, these things, like I said, they move 24/7. There's so much changing. It's just you do your best to educate yourself, and you're right. I mean, the it's funny how everyone kind of has their own mental model for why they got into it and how they got into it. The hedge against inflation. I mean, that's a big one, and that's where a lot of folks start making their way in as well. Just given that it's a finite, inflation-proof asset, given the limited, 21 million supply. But everyone has their different way in. I mean, some people are coming through gaming nowadays. Some people are coming in just because they want to make a quick buck. Those people generally end up getting wrecked at some point and losing most of what they have. And others are just seeing that, hey, this is the future. This is where we're going. They're learning, they're educating themselves, and that is key. Dip a toe, even if it's a couple bucks, put a few in. That gets you a little bit more involved, and then keep educating yourself, right? That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's such an interesting space. And by the way, we talked about it, but guys, I highly recommend check out the BitLift podcast. I think it's great. Just start with Chad's episode. That's the best one for sure.
Jump straight to that one, huh? And then backtrack. It starts off simple and it gets more complex as we go. So
yeah, that's right. So let me hit you with one of the big things that people will say, which is take Bitcoin for example. Not a stock, not tied to any company. It's not regulated. And I used to think those were all bad things. Wasn't until I interviewed the CEO of Swan Bitcoin where I kind of started understanding why those are actually good things. But for the laymen who are watching, maybe they don't know, maybe they've just gotten into the crypto space, or maybe they've been in it for a while, but just wondering, talk a little bit about the skepticism around Bitcoin and the fact that it's true. There's no company, there's no government, none of this. It's just, some people will say it's just pure speculation. What do you say to that?
Yeah, no, it comes up regularly. There's like 5 key questions that anytime you talk to somebody that's never been in or never purchased or never educated themselves on it, the same friggin' 5 questions, right? But one of them, yeah, it's worth nothing. It's ether. It's nothing. There's nothing to back it. And you know what it is it's you spend your whole life with a monetary system, local fiat globally, and that becomes your standard of what money is. And when something comes along and completely flips it on its head, it takes a certain person and or mental capability to be able to think about how the world's different, how things are changing, and how this is going to change things. So yes, technically, there's nothing physical that you get to put your paws on, right? I think that's what affects a lot of people and gets them thinking. But if you look at it, we have global money that can be printed out of thin air. And it never stops, as we're seeing perfectly on a grand scale right now. And that devalues the money that you have in your bank and in your pocket. You're losing money daily because of that. If you look at Bitcoin, there's a limited supply of 21 million that will ever go into existence. And the amount that's going into existence every roughly 4 years gets cut in half. So it's a deflationary asset that is hard-coded in. And the fact that there's no single entity to trust, and there's a global network of folks contributing to the network, is what actually makes it safe and what makes it continue to mathematically execute the way it was designed. And if you look at today's systems in general, whenever there is a single central entity controlling, it's generally, when you get to the outskirts, it generally gets a little less fair as you get out there, and you start realizing that there's massive corruption. And this is really at a massive scale, a anti-corruption, it's by the book, it's math, it's distributed, and it's trustless, which is why it's doing what it's doing.
Corruption in the government? I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, I never said that. I never said that. Putting words in my mouth.
That's right. We could say anything we want on the podcast. We'll cut it out of the YouTube video.
There you go.
It's an interesting point you just made, Chad, to what you were talking about, which is, people will see money. I think I left all my cash in the other room, but people will see like a physical bill, like $100 bill. And I just had this conversation with someone because they were saying, well, this is a physical bill and I can hold it and I can touch it. And I'm like, but let me ask you a question. What is that physical bill worth? Right? Because it's worth much less today than it was worth last week because gas is up 20%. Right. And so I think you're right. I think it's a mindset shift that people need to make. And for some people that